in-game Grim Reaper's Rewards event was good in principle, but a lot went wrong. And today I want to talk about the aftermath of this event and why I think it's important to discuss. Now overall, I've actually been more pleased with Sims 4 in this last little bit, especially with the new expansion pack. I feel like Life and Death expansion pack is a step above many other expansion packs, which I discussed in a previous video. However, there is still a lot going on, especially bugs, and this time I would argue the Reaper event was even more buggy potentially than the expansion pack. There were, however, some improvements made. Number one, I think the timing of the event was better and gave more people more time to actually complete it, and I also would argue that the actual event in terms of the rewards you get was more interesting. I also liked the theme, especially as it fit with the spooky season and of course with the expansion pack. That said, of course, you can have all these great ideas for an event and it can go really south. And to see just how south it went, I'm going to look at some of the most common bug reports and what people are talking about, and also why I think the Sims team is so focused on doing these kinds of events in the first place. Couldn't finish the Reaper's Rewards on Xbox Series X, and halfway through the challenge, the game just stopped tracking my progress. I have tried multiple households, save files, cleared the cache, switched to different Xbox, and notified EA Answers HQ. I can't seem to unlock the last items because the UI is broken. Honestly, I don't mind. In my case, it was already boring, and I've already obtained the truly special items. So of course there is a level of subjectivity. Some people found this event to be very interesting, while other people were just ready to get back to their everyday gameplay. However, I do want to look at some of the most common bugs with this event, not because it matters so much now, but because I do think it matters for any events they might do in the future. Most notably because these bugs have been allowed to fester, so to speak, for many weeks now. And of course that does keep people from actually engaging in the event, which of course is the core strategy of having an event in the first place. Some common reports were not having the Reaper event show up at all, having the event but no task showing, seeing the tasks but many of them are not completing, especially the UI not giving credit for them, event tasks completely resetting, ask spirits about ambrosia not available on the seance table, lifelong goals, discovery quest won't go away, and those are honestly just a few of them, and obviously these are very serious bugs. These aren't minor things, these are aspects that keep you from actually completing and playing in the challenge. And like I said, there were some mixed reactions to this event for sure. Respectfully, never do these events again. Too glitchy and too close to being a battle pass. Keep them to mobile games. However, this person said, this event was the sole reason I picked up the game again after I took a break back in June. It had issues, but it was fun, and there's plenty of room for devs to perfect it. Now my take is, I don't really mind them doing these events if they do them better and do them well. I don't love the overall strategy and potential reason they're doing them, and down the line I would be concerned that they would do more with these. In my opinion, for Sims 4, I hope they're never going to monetize them, and some people have said this could be a testing ground for Project Rene, and I could definitely see that honestly at this point. Others say they just want it to be more optional, not having it right on your screen. And yeah, it is kind of annoying if you don't really care about it. I personally don't care too much one way or the other if it's right on my screen, but I do think this person makes also a good point. I hate they have limited time events. I'm in no headspace right now to open up and play a Grim Reaper simulation ahead of the new year. Yet I don't want to miss out on limited items. Now it is always possible they will give the items for free in an SD extra. They did that before, but it was primarily because I think an event was messed up. But I would say this event has been bugged, so they could actually do that again. And as you can imagine, people who completed the event are going to have mixed opinions if they actually did that. As I said before, I think the reward items this time actually were better, and I do like to see marginal improvements. However, I feel like this event was almost worse than past events in terms of quality assurance, almost like it wasn't quite ready to go. Now, that isn't to say I want to take away from the people who enjoyed this event, because I do think there were aspects to enjoy if you could actually complete it. Finally, just finished appreciate the time frame we got with this one. Again, a prolonged time frame. I think that was a good improvement here. I've been playing the game since Sims 1 and somehow never made Ambrosia, so I think I was the target audience for this one. Great items too. Great challenge to make Ambrosia. I would love to see what other events you could do to explore other things that Sims forget or don't really do. And yes, there's potential for these kinds of events to get you to play the game and with features you might have forgotten about completely. Of course, they're not just adding these free events for the heck of it, they're doing it to drive engagement numbers. If we look at some of the research behind this, it's most popular actually in iOS games, but both reoccurring and non-reoccurring time-limited events are very popular, especially in the top 100 games. And yes, Sims 4 is not a mobile game, but keep in mind that Project Rene is going to have mobile compatibility. Yes, when people say, oh, it's a testing ground, I wasn't really sure. But from what I know so far about Project Rene, I actually think that's a solid theory. However, I think multiple things can be true at once. I also think they're going to stay in Sims 4 periodically at least to boost engagement numbers, because engagement numbers is something they report in their quarterly financial reports, of course, to their good old investors. It also has been tested in other games, of course, to increase overall purchasing. Keep in mind, this is for in-app purchases, aka microtransactions, and it makes sense that those kinds of events would actually get you to do so, especially with the prevalence of things like battle passes. I'm not saying this to scare you. I don't at this time have reason to believe they're going to do this in Sims 4. Could they? Of course they could. However, I do think they are going to do this in Project Rene in my humble estimation. And arguably, for some games at least, it also improves retention rates for players. And obviously, when Sims 4 went free to play, they were really focusing on expanding the audience. But what I'm going to say is, their strategy aside, if they're going to do it, they should do it well. And that doesn't mean there has to be completely no bugs ever. But honestly, the lack of functionality in this event was very concerning. If they're going to do it, they really need to take their time to execute it well. After all, if their whole aim is to get more people to play in the game and more hours, you gotta make sure people are actually able to do so. As this person put it, I really enjoy playing the Reaper's Rewards once they worked. Oh my, the ending was such a disappointment. All that work to be able to make something we didn't even need to use. They did mention they loved the bicycle. Potentially there were other elements of the design they could continue to improve upon. On the plus side, again, I personally think this was a more interesting event. I also believe that the rewards you actually got were more interesting and more varied. Just the overall execution was pretty bumpy. Overall, these kind of time-limited events aren't really my cup of tea whatsoever. I do understand people enjoying them. And just like I like to say when new kits come out, even if it's not my cup of tea, I just want to see it done well for the players who do enjoy it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you enjoy this event? Was it able to work for you? I do know they did have patches, of course, to fix some of the issues, but unfortunately people continue to have issues even after those patches. And also, unfortunately, when you have a time-limited event and you take a while to get those bug fixes out, it is especially concerning. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please take care, and I'll see you in the next one.